What's up, people? Jay here. Just got done watching Monday Night Raw. In this video, I'll be reviewing some of the interesting segments that I found while watching the show. Now, don't get it twisted when you hear that word interesting. This does not mean that I'll be discussing just the good stuff from the show. I'll be discussing the good, the bad, and the ugly, because if we have a hot-ass mess segment on the show, if there's an interesting angle to explore from discussing that, then that's a conversation that definitely needs to be had. And speaking of the ugly moments from the show, have to kick this video off talking about one, and it unfortunately involves my homegirl Sasha Banks, and it pains me to even say that, but I gotta call a spade. So she's on the show backstage talking to the GM of Raw, Mick Foley, and she wants to deal with her Dana Brooke issue. She has a championship match coming up where she'll be defending her women's title versus Charlotte at SummerSlam, and she wants to deal with Dana Brooke. So she says, here's what's going to happen. I want Charlotte and Dana Brooke in a handicap match. Me putting my title on the line versus the team of Charlotte and Dana Brooke. And Mick Foley counters with, here's how things are going to go. If you beat Dana Brooke in a singles match tonight, then she'll be banned from ringside at SummerSlam. But if you lose, then it'll be a handicap match. And I'm sitting back trying to process everything as it's playing out on TV, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, the character of Sasha Banks, her objective is to win in a match. So Mick Foley set her up in a situation where he said, if you win, this is going to happen. But if you lose, I'm going to give you exactly what the fuck you came in here and asked for. And I'm sitting there like, what? This makes no sense at all. And the fact that she even came in there and the very first suggestion out of her mouth was handicap match, that didn't even make any sense. And I'm wondering, what is the spin that WWE is attempting to put on this? Like, how do they want us to process Sasha asking for that match? Like, was it just a fighting champion type thing? And even if that is the case, I'm like, God damn, girl, like, that's a step too far. You know, I understand you want to lay it down and, you know, deliver a statement, but that's not necessary. Not necessary at all. And I guess it's a situation where WWE wanted more stakes on that match with Dana Brooke and Sasha Banks on Raw, and they didn't want Mick Foley to be the one to suggest the handicap match, because that's kind of a dick move, you know? And he's a face authority figure, and they didn't want him to come off as heelish when in just plucking a handicap match out of thin air and suggesting that. But, you know, that didn't make sense, and Sasha suggesting it, that didn't even make sense either. So I don't know, you know, with my limited experience or no experience at all with being on creative teams, if I'm presented with a situation where we have a storyline development where no matter what direction you go after this development, if it doesn't make sense, then maybe that's not something you want to introduce into the storyline. That's just me. I don't know, but yeah, and the fact that it didn't even fucking matter in the end because she won the match versus Dana Brooke, like, I'm just sitting there like, what was that? I don't know. But something that I do know a great deal about, creative team, I'll actually give you props here. Fucking fantastic job with the build-up towards the WWE Universal Championship match with Seth Rollins and especially Finn Bálor tonight on Monday Night Raw. I have been screaming for weeks, you guys got to let us know who the hell this guy is, Finn Bálor, on the main roster. And they went even a step further. Like, they told us who Finn Bálor was, and they established roots for the character of Seth Rollins, because he came out before Finn Bálor, and he was throwing darts. He was like, what do you call it? Like, he wasn't even doing like a counter strike or anything like that. He was doing a preemptive strike on Finn Bálor. And he went out there and he was talking about Finn. And I love the fact that this promo on Raw, it served as Seth Rollins establishing the roots of his character and who he truly is. This supremely smug, and I can't call him arrogant, but because, like, if you listen to the words of Seth Rollins, he said that it's not arrogance when you acknowledge what your place is. And he said his place is at the top of WWE as the standard bearer. And I thought that that was a great line. And he provided this very interesting juxtaposition between him and Finn Bálor, because he attacked the foundation of Finn Bálor's character being based in these mythical stories and stuff like that. And Seth talked about how instead of him being inspired by one, Seth was going to turn himself into a mythical god. And then 200 years in the future, when people are telling stories by the fireplace, they'll be telling the story of Seth Rollins, how he, ended the Roman Empire and how he slayed the beast. He rode in on his white horse and slayed the beast. And I'm sitting there like, now wait a minute. That's not how I remember that story going. I remember Undertaker coming in and saving your ass when you were about to get eaten alive by Brock Lesnar last year. But I guess technically Seth Rollins was responsible for the end of the Beast's title reign. So I guess that's one of those little things where you just throw that out there and, we just keep moving on. Like, don't pay too much attention to that. Like, he didn't even pin Brock Lesnar, but he ended the Beast's title reign. That has to count for something, right? I guess. So, but I'm just making jokes. This was a wonderful promo from Seth Rollins. And like I said, it established the roots of who his character truly is right now in WWE. And I'm glad that they had this promo because I've been sitting back and I've been wanting to enjoy Seth Rollins, fully invest in the character of Seth Rollins. And I feel like with him going out there and speaking for as long as he did, some people found that to be an issue, but I didn't see it as an issue at all because I was invested in every single word that he said and I was engaged because it was exactly what I've been wanting from Seth Rollins. Somebody who goes out there and they're confident in their abilities and they know that they can talk this trash because when they get in the ring, they're going to back it up with who they are as an individual, not with all of these outside factors and all of the bullshit interfering in the match. Like Seth Rollins is confident enough in his talent that he naturally possesses that he can get in there and he can get the job done. And that was the crux of his promo. And I thought that was all wonderful. Now, moving on to Finn Bálor, like I said, I've been screaming for weeks. WWE needed to let us know who the hell this guy was. And I was trying to picture in my mind, how exactly are they going to put that on screen and execute? And I couldn't have even imagined that they were going to do it the way that they did on Raw. And I'm so glad that it happened. You took your sweet ass time getting to this point. Like, we were reaching like a big sense of urgency because I was looking over at SmackDown and as much shit as I've talked about Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler, I'm like, okay, I see some character development going on over there. Let me go ahead and scoot my chair over. Like, I'm leaving. Like, what? Like, I was interested in this match and you guys are slacking a little bit, but they definitely made up for it. We had Finn Bálor going out there and he talked about the who was it, Finn McCool and then Balor. Like he basically deconstructed the character of Finn Bálor and built him back up again for the entire world to see. Now we know what he stands for. Now we know what the foundation of the character Finn Bálor is. And he had some great stuff in that segment. He talked about how earlier on, Seth Rollins was talking about how, he has to tell himself these stories to make him seem like he's bigger than what he actually is. And Finn Bálor was talking about how these are not just stories, they're a source of power. And he talked about how he was going to tap into these creatures and become a man greater than himself. And wow. Oh my God, like that is what I love about professional wrestling. And I wish that WWE would do that more often, not just with the characters of Finn Bálor, where they see that it's necessary that we do this character development because he's new on the roster and we have to introduce him to the audience. Shit like that needs to happen to everyone on the roster because there are a lot of folks roaming around on WWE's roster. I look at them, I don't know who the hell they are. Like, I see them and I know their names and I know what they can do in the ring, but I don't know the purpose of them being in WWE, what they're attempting to accomplish, what is their motivation, what drives them, what fuels them. And character development is a process that is never ending. You don't just stop character development. It goes on a week to week to week basis, and it was so wonderful in this case with Finn Bálor that I wish that WWE would do it more often with other people. Like, we need these character building vignettes, and I think that them doing it with Finn Bálor, it just goes to show how useful they are. Great stuff from Finn Bálor in this feud between him and Seth Rollins. So I'm just going to discuss a few more things from Monday Night Raw. Speaking of great things on the show, I have to talk about that amazing video package featuring Randy Orton and Brock Lesnar. Sitting back listening to Randy talk about how him and Brock Lesnar came up together in WWE's developmental territory way back in the day, and him, getting all in his feelings because he was talking about how, I had an opinion of Brock, but then when he left WWE, that opinion totally changed, and, this and that. And then for it to switch over to Brock Lesnar, and he's like, fuck Randy Orton. Like, I don't care at all. And then you had Paul Heyman laying, back, instigating, like, hey, they're trying to say you had some relationship with him and you were friends and, this and yada, yada, yada. And that's a typical WWE thing to do. Go back and rewrite history and, act like they were some big, the best of buddies. And, they're doing that to make the feud more interesting. But the approach that Brock is taking in this feud, that's making it more interesting to me because I've never seen Randy Orton just treated like some jobber, like some regular ass scrub, and that's what Brock Lesnar is doing to him. Because when you look at a 12-time world champion and you say you're a star, but I'm a mega star, I don't give a fuck about what you're bringing to the table at all. And when you look at Brock Lesnar doing that and you know that there's some legitimacy to his words, it's kind of surreal that a person like Randy Orton has been relegated to this position. Randy Orton, the 12-time world champion, the prototypical WWE superstar, Randy Orton is a chump compared to Brock Lesnar. And what makes it interesting, this overall feud, is that, like I said, there's some legitimacy with who Brock Lesnar is, and I'm wondering, how does Randy Orton respond back? How does Randy Orton attempt to make it an even, a level playing field between him and Brock? Because I look at this as a challenge. Even if this is all scripted and it's all a work and it's all, everybody is in on the joke. Like, just as a performer, I think, for me, that would challenge me. That would make me want to step my damn game up and, bring something, to the table that either you haven't seen in a long time with Randy Orton, going back to, just throwing out a year here, like maybe 2009. I don't know. Just a random year for Randy Orton there. Bringing that back. Or just bringing something new to the table. Like, I hope that Randy Orton looked at the way that segment played out and he felt challenged by that to bring, something exciting and dynamic to the table to, punch back at Brock Lesnar. Because when somebody looks at you, when you've had an amazing career that any wrestler would kill for, and Brock Lesnar says, and you said all that to say what exactly? I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Like, that should challenge you, and I hope it challenges Randy Orton, work or otherwise. What else do we have on the show? Roman Reigns in that segment with Rusev and Lana and the whatever the hell it was, because it wasn't a wedding. It was just them, being obnoxious, and it was kind of funny because I asked on Twitter, what do you guys want me to talk about in this video? And we got a response from Anish. What's up? Shout out to you. Talk about that goddamn disgusting ass, unholy, sacrilegious, sorry excuse for a wrestling show wedding segment. And the funny part about it is that WWE designed it to be that way. Like, they wanted Rusev and Lana to be as unbearable, as annoying, as obnoxious as possible, so that the viewers would be annoyed to the point where they would be excited to see Roman Reigns. And me being a Roman Reigns fan, shit, I'm excited to see him, whether you force a shitty segment on the show or otherwise. But I don't know if did it work with anyone else? Like, did this segment being so obnoxious make you happy to see Roman Reigns come out and ruin it? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, this was a fun segment. I like the character that Roman Reigns was playing in here. He was more loose than we usually see him, and he was able to have fun and not deliver his lines in a scripted manner at all. So I thought that it was pretty cool, and I'm glad that the segment took a turn at the point that it did, because Roman, he was in the ring and he was talking about how, I'm a little disappointed, Rusev. I was expecting more, just like Lana was expecting more on your wedding night. And then Rusev attacked him after that, and I'm so glad that he attacked him, because knowing Roman Reigns, he was gearing up to deliver some compare Rusev's balls to food joke. Because we've seen him do it in the past before. When he called Vince, he said Vince McMahon had prunes. Was that what he said? I don't really remember, but I know for sure when he was talking to Sheamus, he had the whole tater tots. Like, he had that whole moment. So that's something that Roman Reigns loves to do, and I'm quite sure he would have ended up doing that if Rusev didn't bop him over the fucking head. So I'm glad that happened. And, it was funny with Lana, getting the cake all over and all that good stuff. So cool segment from Roman Reigns. And speaking of Roman Reigns doing cool shit, I fucking love that spear at the end of the show, and I wish that the announcers wouldn't have called it out, but I guess in their position up on the, near the ramp, like, they saw Roman Reigns before everybody else did, but they called it out even before he entered the camera frame, and I wish that they would have just quieted down so I could just, like, boom, so I could get the full impact of that. But even with them calling it out before he appeared in the camera frame, it was still a great spear, very impactful, great execution from Roman Reigns, and Rusev sold that like a friggin' champ. And, elsewhere in the main event of the show, we had, an actual match between Rusev and Cesaro for the United States Championship. And I like what they did with Cesaro and what that match meant for Cesaro. And I look at that as a star-making performance. Like, that's the type of performance that puts a rocket on his ass and propels him forward with some momentum. And I'm hoping that WWE capitalizes off of that momentum. And based off of the way that the story was told throughout that match, I don't see any reason why they would not do that, because you could say that Cesaro had that match won 2 times over when he had Rusev locked in the sharpshooter, and also when he hit him with the neutralizer and he went to pin him, but the referee ended up getting knocked out, before he could count the fall, and incorporating Sheamus into it. And that was a really good match that Sheamus and Cesaro had earlier on in the night. I love the chemistry that they have together, and all of those quick reversals and counters and just the fast-paced, hard-hitting action that they had. It was great. And the fact that they had stakes in that match, and they actually had something that they were fighting for. They were fighting for an elevated position on the card, an elevated spot, and I thought that was all cool. But one thing that I was a little confused about, though, was the segment with Daniel Bryan and Mick Foley. Was that just something to get people's eyeballs on the product? Like, oh, hey guys, stick around, don't change the channel please, because Daniel Bryan is going to be here, and then they just use that to transition into the title match. Like, oh, hey, well, you were here to watch Daniel Bryan, why not stick around and watch a championship match main event? Because other than that, it didn't make any fucking sense. Like, I don't feel like anything was actually solved in that segment. They just took a few pot shots at each other and, exchanged some pleasantries before that. And, that was it. Like, what did they solve? I don't know, but cool to see Daniel Bryan. Nice pop. Okay. Shit, that was it. But, what else do I have on this show? I think I have one more thing to discuss. Yeah, one more thing. Ring post-itis. That segment with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, that was funny as hell. And I guess I figured out exactly what their gimmicks are. They are just some immature-ass D-bags. Like, that's their gimmicks. Teenage D-bags. And with the whole obsession with hitting people in the nuts, that pretty much sealed the deal right there. That's exactly what it is. That's the type of, stupid shit people used to do in high school. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. Like, it's very entertaining. I thought that that was hilarious. But yeah, that I guess that's what it is. So, but I'm enjoying it so far. They're fun. And yeah, that was all cool. That's it for my review of Monday Night Raw. I see a lot of folks coming down on the show saying that it was mediocre and, oh, Raw is back to the same old BS. Like, I tend to look at shows and take the most important elements of those shows and put more weight towards them when it comes to whether I enjoy a show or not. And for the moments that Monday Night Raw needed to deliver on, they definitely did deliver. And I overall enjoyed the show. Now, it's always going to be a marathon to sit through a 3-hour show. But at this point, it's like, shit, I tried to fight it, guys. A few years ago when they implemented this thing, every goddamn week I tried to fight it. I'm giving up. Like, I can't fight it anymore. Like, it is what it is. It's 3 hours, and it's just, how do you survive? And I've developed my survival tactics, and it's working for me because I, enjoyed the show. There were some moments where it's like, but, I mean, when aren't you going to get a show where it's, well, shit, I think we did get that 2 weeks ago, but whatever. It is what it is. I'll be back tomorrow to discuss, the goings on SmackDown. See you guys then. Peace.